I really think people should stop taking language classes in order to learn a language. And I know what you're thinking when I say that. You're probably like, well, how am I supposed to learn? I'm not saying language classes are completely useless. I'm just saying if you want to learn a language as quick as possible without a bunch of wasted time, a language class might not be the best for you. So why not? Classes don't really teach you to speak, I'm not gonna lie. Like, language classes sometimes aren't the best for learning all parts of a language. If you notice, a lot of school systems just put you in classes that just teach reading and writing, not speaking. So now we have the issue of, how do we actually get you speaking? Take Japan, for example. Everybody there has to pass English tests to graduate. In the US, you have to take a foreign language class to graduate as well. And a lot of people choose Spanish. But can we speak Spanish? No, we can't. Same thing with a lot of Japanese people. A lot of them can't speak English. When the curriculum is focused on passing a test, whether that's college, high school, or just a regular adult class, a lot of the time it's not going to be the best class for actually learning to speak. And another reason I don't really think you should take language classes, people learn at different rates. If you take a class, let's say I take one lesson and get it immediately, and it takes you 2 or 3 lessons to get it, then I'm wasting time sitting there in the class relearning the same thing over and over, because I already understand the concept. And this isn't even just for languages. Guys, this is any subject. I study computer science, which is a subject where you kind of have to teach yourself a lot of stuff. You can't just sit in class waiting to be taught it. That's what made me really understand how unimportant classes can become sometimes. Languages are the same. To actually learn, you have to identify what you specifically struggle with and choose the best methods that work for that. That is why I think a tutor is a little bit better. You could say, hey, I'm struggling with this specific thing, or they can identify it themselves. And then they can build you lessons around that. In a class, you're just learning what everybody else is learning at the same rate as everybody else. Even if you came in already knowing more than the rest of the class, eventually you're just not using your time efficiently anymore. And it comes back to the speaking thing too. A lot of classes don't teach you to speak, so students forget to actually allocate time for it. They think, I learned to read it, I learned to write it, I speak a little bit in the mirror, so I know how to communicate. No, you don't. Which is why tutors fix the speaking gap that the class leaves. The benefit of a tutor is that you can actually communicate with that person in the language. A tutor can lower the level of the conversation enough that you understand, but keep it slightly difficult enough that you're still learning, still really thinking about what you want to say. Asking specific questions that make you think about how to say something. Honestly, even language classes that have students actually collaborate and talk to each other in class are useful. I don't think classes are completely useless. I think if a class isn't using every part of the language, reading, writing, and speaking, then it's not that useful. The pace is still going to be kind of a headache, but I mean, at least it's something. A lot of classes don't test speaking ability either, which I feel like is a lot more important than reading and writing most of the time, because that's the whole point. Being able to communicate. There should be some kind of speaking test, and a lot of classes do have that, but it's not the most common thing. I actually took an online college class that was strictly reading and writing, and then we did one video of our speaking, which was kind of dumb because that was the only time we spoke in the entire class. We never had Zoom calls with classmates to practice, like never did any of that. So after the class, I took it up on myself to actually practice my Spanish speaking on my own. And another thing people don't really talk about is classes actually can hold you back from writing depending on the language. As a Japanese learner, if you know anything about Japanese or any language with a symbol-based writing system, you can't just sit there and try to learn all the symbols at once. It doesn't really work like that. What's worked for me, and for a lot of people, especially in this digital age, is you learn to identify the symbol, learn to write it at a basic level, practice it a few times, and then you move on. Why? Because there are too many symbols to spend your time perfecting how to write just one. It's way quicker just focusing on how to identify it, because now we just type everything. So why would you need to write it? Unless your goal with that language is to specifically write it, then okay, yeah. But for the most part, no. But what I've seen from people in Japanese or Chinese classes is that they will sit there and drill 2 symbols a week. And I'm not gonna lie to you, 2 symbols a week is not enough, especially for how many characters these languages have. For Japanese, you need to know around 2,000 to be at a regular adult reading level. If you're learning 2 a week, do the math. That's going to take forever. I consistently learn new kanji, not 2 a week. I try 1 a day. That's 7 a week. Sometimes I'm a little overwhelmed, so I'll drop it to 6, sometimes 5. But that's still 5 new symbols a week versus 2. Classes have everybody stuck at the same slow pace because they want everybody to understand together. And sorry to tell you, 2 a week is not enough. You're never going to be able to read the language the way that you're supposed to at that rate. Now, I'm not saying classes are completely useless. If you want a base level in a language and you've got zero experience with it, definitely still try a class if you think it'll work for you. See how you like it, but if it feels like it's going to slow you down, you're probably going to need to add supplemental material to get you to the level that you really want. Realize where you're lacking in that class. There's probably something missing from your learning process. And once you identify that, add a little extra studying into your day. Flashcard before class starts, symbols or words you're not being taught, whatever it is. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Classes aren't the worst thing ever, but I just don't really recommend them if you're trying to learn a language efficiently. If you're paying for it and trying to save money, I don't think it's worth it. Let me know what you guys think. And honestly, just learn what you need. Identify your weak points and go from there. If you found this video interesting, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.